Hey there, friend. Welcome to a brand new month of Holistic Hearts. We are going to be talking all about kingdom business. Yep, this is how you do Holistic Hearts. It's all about wellness. It's all about your business. It's all about your family, your spiritual journey, your nutrition, all of the things. And this month, we are really honing in on how do you partner with God in your business? Whether you work at a business, whether you are, doing the whole network marketing thing, whether you are an online entrepreneur, whether you're a life coach, any of these, this whole month is going to be focused on business. And we are going to kick off this month with a special treat. So if you haven't heard over on my other podcast, Holistic Podcasting, or on my social media, we are, when I say we, Hally Brooke and Megan Nielsen and myself are hosting a 3-day workshop called Aligned Summit, where we are going to take time for you to really connect, get centered, and seek the kingdom for your business and create strategies for a kingdom-driven business and really cultivate some opportunity to lean into faith over fear and create that kingdom culture that you're wanting to create in your business. And it's April 11th, 12th, and 13th. And you are invited, my friend. You have until April 7th to sign up. We will be saving your spot for you. You can be here in person or you can join us virtually. So if you are needing to take some time to really hone in on your business with other like-minded entrepreneurs, we want you to be here. This is such a good chance for you to partner with Jesus, to partner with the Father and the Holy Spirit to build a kingdom that's going to create impact for the rest of 2023. And I also am sharing this incredible conversation that Hally, Megan, and myself all had around what does it look like when we're out of alignment with God and in alignment with God. And we each share tangible experiences of our own where it has felt that way and how God has really shown his goodness in it. And so I wanted to share this right off the bat. It's an interview between Hally Brooke, who is a functional medicine coach, and Megan, who is a kingdom life coach, and myself, who, as you know, I love life coaching. I love podcast coaching. And most importantly, we all care for your heart. And from a wholehearted point of view, this is one way where you can start to align your body, mind, and spirit with your business. And I really think even if you're not in the marketplace right now, this conversation today will benefit you. So stay tuned, and we can't wait for you to come and join us for this 3-day event, interactive workshop, whether it's in person or online. I'll post the link below. Here we go.
Welcome to Holistic Hearts, a place to dive deeper into living holistically, a place where my mom shares thoughts on living fully, creating intentionally, and empowering others to come along with her in this journey.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to whatever afternoon it is. We don't even know. It's spring break. There's no time. We're in a time warp. So I'm sitting here with my amazing friends, Hally and Kristin. And perhaps you've heard us talking about a little event that we are putting on in a couple weeks called the Aligned Business Summit. And we wanted to come on here this afternoon and really share with you our own personal stories of kind of being out of alignment, feeling the friction, feeling the pain points of not being congruent with who we are, what we feel like God's talking to us about in our business, maybe how we've heard the Lord, and then what actual strategical, tactical steps should we make in our businesses to be more aligned with him, and how is that turning out? How are you more, have more joy, peace, success, purpose, whatever that is. So it's going to be story hour. It's going to be, well, don't worry, it won't be a whole hour. It might be, who knows, but it's going to be story time here this afternoon. So I'm going to ask you, Hally, to share with us, like, what is the pain point that you've experienced being, quote, out of alignment in your business? And where did you hear the Lord's voice for you to pivot and go in a new direction? And what does that look like for you these days?
Yeah, totally. So I feel like I have a number of large pivot points that I was, going in this direction, and the Lord invited me to go in this direction. And I'm going to save those because I think the one that's on my heart today and that I feel like is the most pertinent is literally having this conversation every single day. Because for me in my business, we're at a point where we're growing and we're scaling, and there is a lot to do, and there is more to do on a daily basis than is possible for myself or anybody on my team to do. It's literally impossible. And so one of the things that I have on my workday startup routine, so I have a little 10-minute workday startup routine that kind of like gets me in the flow. And one of those things is to pause and to pray and to get myself aligned with Jesus. Like I've already had my own personal morning time with him, but this is specifically for my business, to look at the things that are on my to-do list that are the things that are going to actually move us forward and to get aligned with him. And I am probably 70-30 in doing that. 70% of the time I do, and 30% of the time I don't. And I notice a marked difference when I do or when I don't. When I do take that couple minutes to get aligned and to pray and to ask him what to focus on today, I end the day feeling like we moved the needle, having made significant progress forward, feeling at peace and excited and hopeful about what I do. And when I don't do that, which happens sometimes, because, like you get up and you get an email and then all of a sudden you're off on your day and life happens, I get to the end of my day. And I usually go, man, I feel like I got nothing done today. I feel like I just ran around with like a chicken with my head cut off. And I'm like super frustrated at the end of the day. And I can pause and go back and go, oh, I didn't ask my co-CEO what to focus on today. Like I actually did run around with a chicken with my head cut off, because I didn't ask the person who's in charge of this whole thing what to focus on today. And so for me, the main pain point in my business is that feeling, like that constant feeling of overwhelm, that constant feeling of there is more to do than can actually be done. And I think the other piece for me is I can look into the future. Like I am a dreamer. I am an entrepreneur. I can see what this is going to look like 5, 10, 15 years down the road. And in that, I can get enormously overwhelmed by that, because I know the steps that it's going to take to get from where we are to where we need to be. And I just freeze. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is literally impossible. I don't actually think I can do this. And I think that's part of what Jesus invites us into, is he invites us to be present every day, one day at a time. And yes, as business owners, we need to have strategic plans and we need to look towards the future and all of those things. But when I am out of alignment with him on a day in, day out basis, it changes the trajectory of my day, and it changes my ability to get where I need to go down the road. And so, I have these like big, super fun, God changed the direction moments that I would love to talk about at another time. But I think for me, the big one is, what do I focus on today that will move the needle forward? And when I'm in charge of that conversation, it doesn't usually go well, and I usually end up overwhelmed. And when he's in charge of that conversation, it goes great. And I'm amazed by what we can accomplish in an 8-hour workday.
That is so true. It's so I like to think of things in sort of the macro level and the micro level, right? So you were sort of referring to these macro level decisions of like, a big pivot or a decision or a product launch, something bigger that you needed to shift. And you're bringing it down to the micro level of the very daily, like wake up, your feet hit the floor and you're like, okay, Lord, here's my to-do list, but how do you want to shift it? Do you want to rearrange anything today so that I can stay focused and in alignment with you? Can you think of a specific action item in the past day or two that you were like, I'm all about this, and God was like, no, you're not, you're doing this?
Yeah, for sure. So for me, what I have a tendency to get focused on are like the little nitty gritty things that I have to do, like check email, respond to this person, like work with this client, like the little tiny things. And what the Lord usually brings me out of is like, actually, very few of those things are important. And I want to pull you over here and look at this bigger picture. So right now we're working on building out partnerships with various chiropractors in town to get nutrition counseling into their practices. And it's huge. Every single chiropractor that we partner with is about a 20 client influx for us per month. Like it's a massive partnership. And it's one of those things, I actually think you might have given this to me. It's a box that's important, not important, urgent, and not urgent. And so the things that Jesus usually has me focus on are the things that are important and not urgent, like building out these partnerships. I could wait 6 months to build out these partnerships and they would still be there and it would still be important. Or I could build these partnerships out today. And that's where he usually has me focus, because that's what's going to move the needle from here to here. And what I feel like I need to focus on are the urgent and important, or even the urgent and not important. And so I just spend, like, when I'm not in alignment with him, I spend my whole day dinking away on little 5 to 15 minute tasks that fill my to-do list, that are important and maybe urgent, but that don't actually move the needle. And so, an example like today, I'm dealing with some things in my personal life and it sort of derailed me today, and I had some trouble. So that whole list of things that, like are all the little dinky things that need to get done, he just wiped that off my plate. And he's like, we're doing none of that today. I need you to spend an hour and a half on this, and that's it. And I was able to do it. And if I hadn't done that, if I hadn't taken that time, I would have not actually moved the needle in my business. I would have just spun out in my own personal whatever. And I might have gotten a couple things done on that list, but that list is 30 things long and I might have gotten 3 things done, versus I got 1 thing done that is taking us one massive step closer to 20 new clients a month. So yeah, that's an example.
Yeah, that phrase, the tyranny of the urgent, was just coming to my mind. Like in our human thinking, like tyranny, that's such like a big word, isn't it? Like I don't think you want to get stuck in tyranny. I feel like that's probably not a good place to be. But the tyranny of the urgent, like I feel like so often, our human brains, the world, like the accuser, the enemy, like Satan wants us to just spin in this tyranny of the urgent. You think this is urgent? Yes, I'm just going to keep you here doing these things, which is what you're describing. And then when you stop for a minute and you take a breath and you're like, okay, Lord, I'm spinning right here, but I feel like you're saying, do this thing. It's so countercultural, because the tyranny of the urgent is like, the world has a heyday with that. Like, yes, of course that's urgent. And being aligned with Jesus is like, nope. This may seem urgent to you in your human brain and in the world's way of thinking, but it is not. So I need you to make it, like, have some self-control and some alignment and step over here and do this thing. So I love describing like what it actually looks like on a daily basis. So
I'm looking for something on my phone real quick, which of course I'm not gonna be able to find while we're on here, but it's a line, it's a little card that tells you what the Lord's voice sounds like, and tells you what the enemy's voice sounds like. And the enemy's voice sounds like urgency, like rush, like pressure, like being pushed. And how often do we feel like that in our business? But instead of going, that actually might not be God's voice, that actually might be the enemy, we just go, oh, that's just what running a business is like. And I don't actually think it needs to be. I think we can run a business with peace and calm and productivity and space. That's what the Lord's voice sounds like. But I think so often we confuse just running a business with what actually is the enemy pushing us maybe in a direction that we're not even supposed to go, because of that tyranny of the urgent. When you said that, I was like, oh, I have to find this thing.
That's it. Okay. Well, if you find it, we'll post it below for sure. For sure. Awesome. All right, Kristin, what's your out of alignment story, girl? You said you had 1 million. Maybe not 1 million, just 1,000, just 1,000.
Just 1,000 today. Just kidding. I think, well, like Hally, so you took it in mine that other than mindset, like that's on a daily basis of like, where is my brain today? Is it it's too much? I'm not doing enough. It's that striving. It's the very easily falling into the trap of worldly thinking of do more, do more, do more, do more. And for me on that level, I would say the most recent alignment is really capturing those thoughts and being like, nope, I'm going to have enough time today to do what God's called me to do today. And so very similar in that aspect of just that day-to-day mindset And I feel like that's a daily training of my brain. But I would say on the bigger picture, one of my biggest ones was when I was going to go back to school for counseling. I thought that's what I was going to do as an adult once my kids were a little older, and they were all a little older and about all going into elementary school. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go to grad school. And about a couple weeks before, maybe a week before, I just felt this gut check of like, something's not right. And it really made zero sense to be like, you should not do this. And I called the school and said, I'm unenrolling. And I had already bought some books and was like, I don't really know why, but this is not it. And so that was a huge pivot that I had zero clue what was next. And I literally I let it go and was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but this is not it. And then a couple days later, I got a call from Ryan Dobson, who is the Rebel Parenting host. And he had not started that podcast yet. And he was like, Kristin, we are praying for a producer and we want you to be our podcast producer. And I was like, what the heck is a producer? And he was like, well, you already do it. It's like your personality. You already do everything that a producer does. And we trust that you're going to figure it out and you're going to build us, into the top charted podcasts. And I had zero knowledge of how you build a podcast up. And it was the most fun adventure. And honestly, it was that pivot of like, are you totally surrendered? Because you think that you were going to be a counselor, but you're not. So that was a huge moment for me to really just be like, okay, I don't know what's next, but this sounds fun. And it was. So yeah, fast forward 5 years and still running a podcast management business. So
running, you own it. You're like the CEO, company manager. Like what a great story though, because here you are, you're prepared, you've put money down, you've got books, like you're ready to go. And then you just had like an unsettled peace in your spirit. You're like, this is not. And then sure enough, I feel like what you're describing is such a kingdom principle of you do the next obedient step, and it's scary and it's illogical a lot of the times. And then sure enough, the minute you say, okay, I'm releasing this thing, I don't know why. You had no idea he was going to call you and ask you and give you that opportunity. You just knew, I'm releasing this thing. And then God's like, okay, now you have space in your life for the thing that I'm bringing. Like, that's amazing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a wild journey.
It's a wild journey. Yeah. I think for me, in that same vein, the Lord speaks to me a lot about the next obedient step. And many times it has to do with money. So, I, in my own nature, in my own flesh, in my own like limited cash flow, I think I don't have the money to invest in this thing. I don't have the money to tithe to that organization. But when I'm like spending time with the Lord, it's like he keeps bringing it back up. Like, if you plant this seed, if you invest in this space, then there will be a harvest. Like, I don't know how the harvest is going to come. I don't know when the harvest is going to come, but more times than I can count, when I have invested in a business coach, immediately I will get like a couple of clients and all of a sudden it's like a wash. It's like the money just came right back in. Recently, he was talking to me about tithing because I was tithing in the beginning of my business and giving. And then all of a sudden I kind of was like pulled back because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm investing in these other projects. I don't really know. And I just had that like burning heart again. That was like, Megan, we've talked about this. The first fruit, like, are you sowing into the kingdom in a way that is not for you? It's not like a win-win. Like, I sow into you, you sow into me. We're doing this like transactional thing. Like, so for me, alignment has a lot to do with giving, specifically money. And when I do, he just is so amazing. And then it will come back in. The other thing I think of for business for me is these projects that no human being is actually asking me to do. Like, for example, many of you know that I'm writing a book right now. I'm going to launch it soon, but no human being on this earth is offering me a contract to do that. I do not have a traditional publisher that's like, oh my gosh, Megan, you have thousands of followers and this amazing voice, and we're going to give you this advance so that you write a book. I just get so internalized in my own spirit, and the Lord, we're just having this conversation. He's like, this is a message that needs to get out into the world. And so I have to take that aligned step of faith. It's like, okay, I don't know who cares. I don't know who's going to read it. I don't know what this is for, but I feel it so strongly. And he really did tell me that about like Q1 for this year. He said, when I was praying about 2023, I was like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? What am I supposed to be pouring into? And I felt very strongly that the Lord was like, you need to be writing this book and launching this podcast. Shout out to Kristin, my podcast producer. So there you go. It's amazing. It's happening. It's coming out, and everything else will come from there. So I don't know how else to explain it, except for he said, you create these two things. You let me do the rest. So I feel like a lot of times in business, it might be just that still small voice that like, are not our hearts burning within us? I was just sharing this story with a client the other day because she's like, I don't know why I keep thinking about writing. And I don't know about that. I said, I know why. It's because the Lord put it in your spirit and your heart is burning within you. It's like the guys on the road to Emmaus when they're walking with Jesus, they're chatting with him. They have no idea it's him. They're like, oh my gosh, have you not heard this guy got crucified? And how can you, where have you been all this time? And then when he suddenly vanishes after he's had dinner with them and spent hours together, their eyes are open and they're like, oh my gosh, were not our hearts burning within us? And Jesus was there and he revealed things to the scriptures. Like, that's what I think alignment is this moment when your heart is burning within you for something and you just know, okay, Lord, this doesn't always make sense in the logical, like worldly realm, but I'm going to take that next step. And he blesses it. And we don't, as human beings, have control over the outcome. We just do not. And so that's what I think it looks like for me to be like a faith-led, kingdom-led business owner, is you just take the next right step and you invest in the things that he's asking you to invest in. And then he brings about the harvest, whatever that's supposed to look like. So I don't know what thoughts that brings up in your minds as you're listening to that.
Amen. Well, I found the graphic that I was looking for. And
I love it.
I think both of your stories put such texture to this. So basically it says Satan's voice obsesses, worries, condemns, discourages, confuses, pushes, frightens, and rushes. Like Kristin, for you, it would have been so easy to be like, well, I'm already signed up, like feeling rushed. Like I already have my books. I just have to go to school. But then we flip to God's voice, and God's voice calms, comforts, convicts, encourages, enlightens, leads, reassures, and stills. And Megan, same thing for you. Like it would be so easy to, feel discouraged about writing your book because no one has a contract for you. But when you tap into the Lord, I hear your story is there's comfort in that, and there's reassurance in that, and you're being led in that. And how often do we pause and listen to the Lord in running our business? Like probably not that often, if we're really being honest with ourselves. For most Christian business owners, I think we rush and push, and what are the others? Rush and push and condemn ourselves and worry and obsess instead of calm, comfort, encourage, enlighten, lead, reassure, still. Like how often are we still in our business?
There you go. That's so good. Okay, so that's a perfect segue. We're going to flip the script. So if you are listening to this message and you're listening to these stories and you are a faith-led business owner who's like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm in this place of rushing and hurrying, and the tyranny of the urgent is just like pressing down on me every day, and I don't feel like there's enough time in my day to do the things. And you know that if you just paused your life for like a day and a half, we'll put all the details below, and you listen to the Holy Spirit and you come into the same room with us. We're literally offering it in Colorado Springs downtown, April 11, 12, and 13, or virtually. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I have no idea how I could get to Colorado Springs by April 11th, we got you. You can join us via Zoom, and there will be a spirit of worship. There will be a spirit of listening and teaching, and then divine strategy, like praying for divine strategy for you, for your business. And what's the next aligned step? Is God confirming where you're already going? Is he bringing about new ideas? And you're like, oh my gosh, how would I even begin to make those changes? That's what we're going to be exploring together, encouraging one another, and putting boots on the ground to go, okay, God, we want to follow what you're doing. So would you ladies add anything? We can put all the links to sign up below.
Sign up below. The only thing I would add is give yourself the gift of taking a step back and working on your business for 2 days instead of working in your business. When you work on your business and you work on it in alignment with Jesus, instead of working in it, that like hamster wheel and always going, it is, you will get 7 weeks out of those 2 days. 7 weeks of benefit of moving forward. I just made up the number 7 weeks. That's what I feel like.
It's very biblical. So
it is very biblical.
I like the number 7.
But literally you will get months back in your life out of taking 2 days to just pause and get still and work on your business instead of trying to just keep up and hold on with both hands.
Well, I love the timing of it because quarter 1 is just ending here at the end of March. And we're doing this April 12, 11, 12, 13. And it's the beginning of quarter 2. So chances are you started 2023 and you're like, what is going well? What is out of alignment? And this can kind of push you through to the rest of 2023. So that's awesome. All right, Kristin, do you have any last words of wisdom for us?
Yeah, I just think about there's so many people, especially in this online entrepreneur space, that we hear of people like take a once a weekend or 1 weekend a quarter to go listen and work like on your dreams, on your goals. And I just think, oh my gosh, if I would have had this tool 2 years ago, I would have eaten this up because you're getting tools to work with and time to work on it yourself. And so it's like you have that weekend smushed into your work week already. So your kids are already at school. You've already got this designated time to work, but this is actually going to, like Hally said, it's going to be sowing into your business and you're going to reap so much more benefits from this. And this is your opportunity. Like if you feel like you're in a season of life where you're like, I can't take a weekend away. My kids got 1,200 sports they're participating in. Or this is my only family time with my husband. Like this is such a great opportunity. And it's such a short amount of time with power-packed topics. And I was even sharing with somebody the other day what we were going to be going over, just like, this is what we're going to be talking about. And they were like, oh my gosh, that's a lot in just about, 10 hours total, 12 hours total. And yes, so totally worth your time. And like Hally said, I think that's a huge benefit into pouring into your business and dreaming and getting to step away for those, basically it's a day and a half of time and getting to dream and plan and get those tools so that you can move forward on your own and do this on your own. So I love that aspect of it.
I love it. Okay. So if you're listening to this and your heart's burning inside and you're like, hey, this is so interesting. I don't know. Can I pull it off? You can do a couple of things. You can reach out to any one of us. So we'll tag each other on this video. So message us and just be like, hey, could you give me a few more details on this? Go to alignedsummit.net and you can get all the details and just register straight away. And then we will reach out to you just to confirm if it's in person or if it's virtual. And then just, mark the time on your calendar. It's Thursday afternoon, the 11th from 1 to 4, the 12th Wednesday from 10 to 4, and then Thursday from 9 to noon Mountain Time. So, all right. I cannot wait to collaborate with you girls. It's going to be so much fun.
Yes,
so, this is for men and women, by the way. So
yes.
FYI.
And if you're on the fence, give yourself that gift.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, you're worth it.
All right.
Thanks for listening to Holistic Hearts. As always, leave a review and don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. And if you'd like to find out more about my mom and all the things she is writing about, go to www.kristinfieldschadwick.com.